Radharani's family, Vrishabhanu Maharaj and Kirtida, and they were very close friends with Nanda and Yashoda. So after Nanda and Yashoda left, packed up and went to Nandagram, then Vrishabhanu Maharaj said, we cannot tolerate living here without our friends. We should also leave. And so they also packed up everything and shifted, and they found another big hill in the Braj area, which became Varshana. And on top of Varshana, they had a temple, and they lived there. And this is Radharani's home. So Radharani's home was in Varshana on top of a huge hill. And a few miles away was Krishna and Balaram's home, Nandagram, on top of a huge hill. So today, if you go to Varshana, all the devotees in Varshana, they're all devotees of Radha. And you meet them and they, Radhe Radhe, Radhe Radhe. They only say Radhe Radhe. If you go to Nandagram, then everyone says Jai Shri Krishna, Jai Shri Krishna, Jai Shri Krishna. Sometimes people from Varshana, they meet up on the road with people from Nandagram. So the Varshana people say Radhe Radhe, and the Nandagram people say Jai Shri Krishna, Radhe Radhe, Jai Shri Krishna, Radhe Radhe, Jai Shri Krishna. But when we say Hare Krishna, that includes Radha and Krishna. Hare is the evocative of the word Hara, which refers to Radharani. So Krishna and Balaram temple in Vrindavan, Prabhupada established, and it was the second Krishna Balaram mandir in the world as far as I knew. But then what happened in 1975 at the grand opening of that temple, Krishna Balaram Mandir in Vrindavan, Prabhupada gave initiation to one Gaur Govinda, a devotee from Orissa, and gave him the name Gaur Govinda Goswami. And so Gaur Govinda asked Srila Prabhupada, so what will be my seva? Prabhupada said, you go back to Bhubaneswar, where you're from, and you preach and establish the mission of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Orissa and build a temple there. So then he asked Srila Prabhupada, which deities should I establish in Bhubaneswar? And Prabhupada said, Krishna Balaram. So he established Krishna Balaram Mandir. This was the second. Also at that time, the devotees from Paris in France had just purchased a huge tract of land, and with an old castle on it, a beautiful place. They were going to establish Varnashram Dharma and have a nice temple. So Bhagwan Das, who was the temple president in GBC there, he approached Srila Prabhupada. So now we have this beautiful farm and this huge castle. We'll turn it into a temple. Which deity should we install there? Krishna says, Srila Prabhupada said, you install Krishna Balaram. So that Krishna Balaram was installed. Gradually, Prabhupada requested more and more Krishna Balaram temples. Now there were devotees who were going to Jaipur, and they said, Srila Prabhupada, one day we want to establish a temple in Jaipur. Prabhupada said, very good. Yes, that Radha Govinda is there, many Vrindavan deities are there. Jaipur is actually Gupta Vrindavan. So they said, Jai Srila Prabhupada. So which deity should we establish in Jaipur? Prabhupada said, Krishna Balaram. So all of a sudden, when previously there had been only the one Krishna Balaram Mandir in the whole world at Nandagram, now there are so many Krishna Balaram Mandirs everywhere. So devotees began to inquire amongst themselves, why is Srila Prabhupada establishing Krishna Balaram everywhere? And in our temple in Vrindavan, Sri Sri Krishna Balaram Mandir, when you come in the temple, the first altar is Gaur Nitai, The middle altar is Krishna Balaram, and then the side altar is Radha Sham Sundar, which is unusual because in Vrindavan, Radha Sham Sundar are always prominent, most prominent in the middle. But Prabhupada had Krishna Balaram as most prominent. So Prabhupada had a very deep mood and feeling for Krishna and Balaram. And Balaram is not so much understood and not so much discussed amongst Vaishnavas. So usually Radha and Krishna. Now, what we do know about Krishna Balaram is that Krishna is the Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha Anadir Adi Govinda Sarva Karana Karanam. Krishna is the source of all emanations. He is the supreme controller of all other controllers. And his form, his Vigraha, is Satchidananda, eternal, full of knowledge, full of bliss. He is beginningless, Anadi. He is completely beginningless. But when he wants to begin something, as Govinda, he takes a flute, and in that flute, he plays sound vibration that enters into the ear of Lord Brahma. And Lord Brahma then it's inspired and learns how to perform the Srishti, the creation of the material worlds. So Lord Brahma took his birth on a lotus flower that came from the stem of the navel of Garbhodakshayi Vishnu. And he heard the sound tapa, and so he went into meditation for thousands of years. And then Govinda blew his beautiful melodies of the flute, and Brahma was inspired to create. So Krishna, he's the original Supreme Personality of Godhead. His first expansion is Balaram. And Balaram is the support of everything. He's the elder brother of Krishna. And even though Krishna came first and expanded into Balaram, we see in his pastimes that Krishna appears, then Balaram appears. Balaram is older because he appears before, because Krishna, by his Achintya Shakti, he expands himself into Balaram first before he expands himself as Govinda. Then we read from Shastra that Balaram expands into the Chaturvyuha, Vasudev, Sankarshan, Pradyumna, and Aniruddha. And these expansions go on until we arrive at Mahavishnu. And Mahavishnu is lying on the causal ocean and on Anantasesh. And Anantasesh is an expansion of Balaram. And Mahavishnu is an expansion of Krishna. So in this way, Balaram is supporting Krishna in all the different manifestations and incarnations. Now, when we come to Mahavishnu, also known as Karana Dakshayi Vishnu, because he's living on the Karana ocean, the causal ocean. And Lakshmi Devi is massaging his feet. And then Mahavishnu glances at Durga Devi, and in this way impregnates the universe with living entities. But the question is, where did Lakshmi come from? And Durga, how did they appear all of a sudden? So that is explained in the Devi Bhagavata. In the Devi Bhagavata, it explains how Radharani expands so many different expansions. And in this way becomes Lakshmi, becomes Durga, and also becomes Subhadra. So we have Jagannath, Baladev, and Subhadra. So Subhadra and Baladev are the family members, the brother and sister of Sri Krishna. So these are different expansions of Krishna and different expansions of Radharani. So it's very wonderful to know Ishvara Parama Krishna, the supreme controller is Krishna, and Balaram is his support. Now, in our Krishna Balaram Mandir, we see that Balaram has his arm on the shoulder of Sri Krishna. He's a more white color, and Krishna is more dark color. So one time at the temple, Prabhupada, at the end of a class, normally he asked for questions, but this time he asked a question. So he asked, who is stronger, Krishna or Balaram? So we all knew that Balaram was very, very strong. Bala means strength. So the devotee said, Balaram is stronger. And Prabhupada said, no, Krishna is stronger. That's why Balaram is leaning on him. So even though Balaram is the support for Sri Krishna, Krishna is actually also supporting him. So these are very deep pastimes, and no one can really fully understand them. But why did Srila Prabhupada have so much emphasis on Krishna and Balaram? So more so than Radha and Krishna. So many people think that it's because Prabhupada is connected to Krishna and Balaram very closely in the spiritual realm. He must be very connected to them because in Sri Vrindavan Dham, here in India, which is non-different than the Satchidananda Goloka Vrindavan, Prabhupada is very much connected to Krishna Balaram, putting them in the center, establishing temples all over the world. So we can understand that in the spiritual world, Prabhupada is also very connected, very close to Krishna and Balaram. So we should also be very connected to Krishna and Balaram also. Now, Balaram is a very unique personality, and Balaram has expanded into Nityananda Prabhu. Krishna expanded as Sri Chaitanya, and Balaram as Sri Nityananda Prabhu. And Nityananda Prabhu we know to be an Avadut. Nityananda Avadut is one of his names. He's unconventional. He doesn't conform to what everyone else conforms to, the rules and regulations. He's above the rules and regulations. Whereas Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he followed strictly the rules and regulations because he was a sannyasi, he was a Grihastha before that, and he strictly followed. He strictly followed because he wanted his followers to also be strict in following the Dharma Shastra. So he set the example by his personal behavior. Now, after Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took sannyas, he immediately went to Jagannath Puri. Of course, first he wanted to go to Vrindavan. However, Nityananda had arranged with Advaita Acharya that Sri Chaitanya as a sannyasi would first come to Shantipur, to the home of Advaita Acharya, and Mother Sachi was invited there so that she could see her son one last time, because Mahaprabhu had gotten up in the middle of the night when Vishnu Priya and Sachi Devi were fast asleep on the full moon night of what's the name of that month? Anyway, at my age, sometimes we can't remember these things straight away. And the full moon night, and he went to Gaya and took sannyas. So Nityananda, after sannyas, he wanted to take Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to see Advaita Acharya and Mother Sachi. But Mahaprabhu wanted to go to Vrindavan. So then Nityananda Prabhu took him along the Ganga and said, here we are, this is the Jamuna. We're almost there. So Nityananda was tricking Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and brought him to Shantipur, because in those days, the Ganga was flowing very close to Shantipur. And there, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu met with Advaita Acharya and he saw his mother, Sachi Devi. And as soon as he saw his mother, Sachi Devi, he offered Dandavat pranams and begged forgiveness. He said, I've committed a great offense. I left in the middle of the night, leaving you unprotected to go take sannyas. Now I have taken sannyas. What can I do? However, this body belongs to you. You gave this body. This body came from you. So you please tell me, where should I reside now that I'm a sannyasi? So in this way, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu offered all obeisances and reverences to his mother. And Sachi Devi said, then you live in Puri, because I will be able to get news from you regularly, because all the devotees of Navadvip go back and forth to Puri all the time. So based on that order from Sachi Mata, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu made his residence in Puri and spent the major part of his life in Puri, except for when he would go out traveling here and there occasionally. Now, when Nityananda and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu were traveling to Puri, Sri Chaitanya had a danda. And just outside of the precincts of Jagannath Puri, there's a river called, nowadays the river is called the Danda Banga Nadi. But that, just before that river, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, now I'll take bath before entering into the holy dham of Puri to see Lord Jagannath. So while he was taking bath, Nityananda broke the danda because he could not tolerate to see that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was following the rules and regulations of a normal sannyasi when he knew that he was the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came back from his bath, he said, what happened to my danda? And Nityananda said, oh, I was leaning on it and it broke. So Nityananda, as the expansion of Balaram, he is also an avadut, just like Balaram, and he's always joking. And in this way, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to Puri without his danda, and he never had a danda after that. His original danda was broken, given by his guru, sannyas guru, and so he never had danda after that. So Balaram and Nityananda, they are the same. They have expanded. Balaram has expanded into Nityananda for Chaitanya Leela. Now Balaram, when they were living in Dwarka, he was the elder brother. So even though Krishna was, everyone loved Krishna, still Krishna would follow the instructions and desires of his brother Balaram. So one time, Arjuna came to visit Krishna in Dwarka. And when soon as he saw Krishna's younger sister, Subhadra, he immediately fell in love with her. And Subhadra, when she saw Arjuna, she fell in love with him. So Arjuna approached Krishna and said, I think that Subhadra and I should get married. We have an attraction, an attachment for each other. So Krishna says, let me check with my brother, Balaram. So he checked with Balaram, and Balaram said no. He had a different plan for Subhadra to get married. So when Arjuna came to see Krishna, Krishna said, I'm very sorry, but I cannot grant that you have my sister's hand in marriage because my elder brother Balaram has denied that. He is not accepting that you will be the husband of Subhadra. He has a different person in mind. So Arjuna was very crestfallen. Oh, but we have such a connection. So Krishna says, well, look, I can't overrule my brother. However, if in the dead of night you come while everyone's sleeping and you kidnap Subhadra and you elope with her and run away, what can anybody do? So in this way, he was giving a hint to Arjuna. So Arjuna made an arrangement with Subhadra, and one night when everyone is sleeping, he came with his chariot, and Subhadra got on and they drove away. The guards saw them leaving, so the guards reported to Balaram that this Arjuna, the guest of Krishna, he's also a guest in your palace, has stolen your sister. They're eloping. It's a Gandharva marriage. Balaram was furious. He said, gather all the soldiers. We'll go after them and rescue Subhadra. So as Arjuna and Subhadra are driving, all of a sudden, they hear this noise. They look behind them, and there is Balaram and the soldiers chasing after them. So Arjuna speeds up the chariot, and he says to Subhadra, you take the reins and you drive the chariot, and then I'm going to fend off the approaching army behind us with my arrows. And so he was shooting off the arrows to stop the coming of Balaram's army. So this is how Arjuna married Subhadra. It's called the Gandharva wedding. Now it's interesting to know that no one can drive a chariot without being trained. You have to know how to train horses and how to direct them this way, that way, how to put on the brakes, how to make them go faster. So it's quite clearly obvious that Subhadra Devi was trained how to drive a chariot. So sometimes people think that Mataji's, they're only places in the kitchen, but clearly Subhadra Devi, she was trained to drive a chariot. So she had servants who were in the kitchen. And as Krishna, Balaram, and Jagannath in their temple, Subhadra also is not in the kitchen. She has her servants serving prasad for all three of them. They get served very nicely. So Balaram also, he did not take part in the Kurukshetra war. Why he didn't take part in the Kurukshetra war is because he liked the Pandavas and the Kauravas equally. In fact, he had a rasa with Duryodhana. They had this military rasa where they were fighting with clubs and everything. So they had a kind of a friendship. So when the Kurukshetra battle was about to begin, the Pandavas against the Kauravas, Balaram said, I can't just go on one side or the other because I have fond affection for everyone. So he went on Tirtha Parikrama. And one thing about Balaram is we hear from Shastra that he frequently went on Tirtha Parikrama. He loved to go on Tirtha Parikrama. So we know that Balaram, he loved to visit the holy places, worship the deities there, associate with the sadhus, take his bath in the holy rivers. He loved to do that. So during the Kurukshetra battle, while everyone's fighting, Balaram is doing Tirtha Parikrama. He's not fighting. And of all the places he goes to, many places are mentioned in the Shastra, and Prabhupada mentions them in the Krishna book also. But there's one particular place he went to in Bangalore that we have been to that is a very wonderful place. And there, the name it'll come back. I'm 78 years old, by the way, so sometimes my memory is not so sharp. Takes a while. So Balaram came to this holy place where there was a big hill, huge hill, and a flat plain. And on top of the hill was a murti of Nrsimhadev, Yogana Shringa, sitting in Padmasana. And it was on this hill Prahlad Maharaj had come after Nrsimhadev had vanquished the demon Hiranyakashipu. And then Prahlad Maharaj later, he came to this place, Karnataka. I don't know why, I can't remember the name. I've been there several times. And he visited that place. Now at the bottom of this hill is a kund, and that kund is called Varaha Kund, because when the Bhumandala had fallen into the Garbhodak ocean and Lord Varaha had rescued Bhumandala and picked it up with his tusks, then a few drops of water had fallen from Bhumandala onto this place. And so the devotees there made a kund, and it's called Varaha Kund. So Prahlad used to worship a Narasingha Shila there, and Balaram came to see that Narasingha Shila. But then what happened was, one day, Prahlad Maharaj, he woke up, and when he went to see his Narasingha Shila, it had manifested into a Narasingha Murti, a Yoga Narasingha Murti, self-manifested deity. So Balaram came and saw that self-manifested deity. Also, Sri Ramanujacharya had come there and spent 12 years. And because Sri Ramanujacharya, 1,000 years ago, was preaching that we should all glorify Sri Vishnu, that Sri Vishnu is Bhagavan, we're Vaishnavas. But in Tamil Nadu at that point, many people were Shaivites, and they only worshiped Lord Shiva. And so, because Ramanuja was such a great preacher and powerful Vaishnava, more and more people became attracted to Lord Vishnu. So the Shaivites didn't like this. So they decided we have to get rid of this Ramanujacharya. The word came to Ramanuja that they're plotting to harm you. You should please leave this place. So he went to this holy place. Why? I can't remember the name.
Melkote? Is that Melkote?
Melkote. Yeah, Melkote. So he went to Melkote. Thank you very much. Thank you. So he went to Melkote and stayed there for 12 years. And he sat in the same place that Prahlad Maharaj had sat doing his pujas. So when Balaram appeared there in this holy place of Melkote, everything was there. Lord Nrsimha was there, Varaha Kund was there. But then he complained to the pujaris, you have a temple, but you don't have a murti of Sri Krishna. Why you don't have Sri Krishna here? Bhagavan Sri Krishna, Ishvara Parama Krishna. So they said, oh, we're very sorry. We should have, you're correct. So Balaram said, then I will bring. So he went and he had a beautiful deity carved of Sri Krishna out of granite. And he brought that deity back to Melkote and installed, the deity was installed there and it's worshipped to this day. So when we went there, we took darshan of that Krishna deity, beautiful deity that Balaram had brought. We took some water from Varaha Kund on our head because Prabhupada didn't like that we splash around in these sacred kunds. Even in Radha Kund, the devotees used to jump in and swim, and Prabhupada didn't like that. He said, no, this is a very sacred place. It's not a place for sporting and enjoying. So he instructed us. This was in 1975, and I was there. I heard Prabhupada say this. Radha Kund is a very sacred place. You should go take the water, just put it on your head, and it's the same as taking full bath because the water is transcendental and absolute. So I've been doing that ever since. So I also took some water on my head at Radha Kund, Then we climbed up to the top of that mountain and took darshan of the place where Prahlad Maharaj had sat and where Ramanuja Acharya had also sat. Very wonderful place. You have a beautiful view of everything way up on top of the mountain. And then we went to take darshan of Yogana Shringa. So there was a line of Indian gentlemen and ladies and gentlemen also coming to take darshan. So when the pujari saw my wife and I, they said, you move over to the side and wait for some time. So we moved over to the side, and after all the Indian ladies and gentlemen had passed, and they said, come forward. They brought us in, and they did puja to, not a puja, but, very nice. I guess it's a kind of a puja. Then they allowed us to go into the sanctum sanctorum to take darshan right up close to the lotus feet of Lord Nrsimhadev. So they were these are Ramanuja Acharya devotees, Ramanuja Vaishnavas, but they were so wonderful, had wonderful mood for our ISKCON devotees. So we experienced that. So because Balaram had been there and established the Krishna deity there, Melkote is a very special place. If anybody ever goes to Karnataka, you just hire a car. It's a 3-hour drive from Karnataka to Melkote, and it's a wonderful holy tirtha. So there you can get your bath, sprinkling on your head of Varaha Kund, the water that came from the body of Varaha after he lifted Bhu Mandala out of the Garbhodakshaya ocean. So this is very wonderful. You can sit in the same place where Prahlad Maharaj sat, where he worshipped his Nrsimha Srila. And then you can go take darshan of that self-manifested Yogana Shringa Murti that manifested itself from that Shila of Prahlad Maharaj. So it's a very special place. And then you take darshan of the Krishna Murti that Sri Balaram himself had fashioned and brought back to Melkote. So in this way, Balaram, he didn't take place in the Kurukshetra war. He was very strong. When Krishna and Balaram were being attacked by demons, then Krishna and Balaram would both destroy these demons. When they came to Mathura, because they were going to fight with the wrestlers in the arena, Kamsa had arranged, and Krishna and Balaram, they destroyed the wrestlers, killed the two demoniac elephants that tried to harm them. So in this way, Krishna and Balaram, they have many pastimes together, which are male-oriented pastimes. We can see that Balaram is very masculine. He also has his Ras Leela, however. He has his gopi girlfriends, and he does his Ras Leela with them, but it's not mentioned in any detail. Only the detail is with the Ras Leela with Krishna and Radharani. Because Radharani is our main focus from the feminine side, Radha Krishna. So therefore, we only know the details of Radha Krishna Ras Leela pastimes. We know that Balaram had his Ras Leela pastimes, but we don't know any details about those pastimes. So Balaram, very interesting personality. And Prabhupada had a special relationship with them because he established the Krishna Balaram mandirs all over the world now. So many of them are there. So, by the way, at this point, if there are any questions, I can take some questions before I continue. Anybody have any questions before I continue further on? Do we have a gathering of people who can ask questions?
Yeah. Dear devotees, anyone has questions, please do so. Prabhu, if possible, please sing one kirtan Jai Radha, Jai Krishna, Vrindavan, that one or whatever I think is appropriate. Time
You're
permit.
asking me to sing a kirtan?
Not kirtan if time permits, if nobody else says.
So I should sing a kirtan without harmonium, without mridanga, without cartels, and without people responding. Just me, a one-man kirtan. Is that what they want? I can do a couple of mantras. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Jai Sri Krishna Balarama ki jai. Jai Harinam Sankirtan ki jai. Jai Samadvaita Bhaktivinoda ki jai. Gaur Prevarande Hari Hari Bo.
Hari Hari Bo. Thank you so much, Prabhu. Wonderful melodious kirtan. We all invite you to come in person to ISKCON of Central New Jersey. We would like to hear and dance and chant with you. It will be really.
Well, we came to ISKCON, Central New Jersey, many years ago at the grand opening of the temple. We were there, and Jayadvaita Swami was there also, I remember. And even before that, before the grand opening, and there was just a preaching center, I had come also. So I had also stayed in Tawako, New Jersey. So I have a connection with the New Jersey going back many years. So right now we're not allowed to leave, to travel. We do lockdown, especially here in India. India is on the red list of most countries. No one will accept anybody coming from India. So we can't leave Vrindavan Dham. We're not allowed to leave. Jai, this is Krishna's mercy. We can't leave here. We can live here, but not leave here. So we're very happy to just be living here and not leaving here. So for us, this lockdown is something wonderful. We see it from the spiritual perspective. And we have to see everything from the spiritual perspective. Even though something may look bad or negative, we have to see what is the spiritual significance underlying the negative external. So the spiritual internal is always underlying the external negative thing. And Krishna has to clean house. He has to get rid of the demons. I mean, that's what he does. Paritranaya sadhanam vinashaya chaduskritam. So he's always vinash the duskrit people, you know. So this is what's happening now. He's cleaning house, and the devotees, they don't have to travel, and they can just stay at home, chant Hare Krishna, cook prasad, offer to their Thakurji, and wait until everything's lifted and Krishna has cleaned house. Then we can go out and preach again. And that preaching will be super wonderful, super excellent, because people will then understand material world is not a place of enjoyment. Previously, they were thinking, oh, this is a wonderful place to enjoy. But after the pandemic, they'll say, you're right, this is not a place for enjoyment. And the preaching will be fantastic. And we'll be able to distribute more and more books, do more and more Harinam, have bigger and bigger Sunday feast programs, increase our congregation dramatically. So if we look at everything in the positive view, everything is great. Everything is wonderful. We just have to stay healthy. How do we stay healthy? By following the teachings of the Parampara. We only eat prasada. We don't go out and eat karmi food. We don't go out and take cold drinks and things that are cooked or manufactured by non-devotees who are not following regulative principles. Then we pick up their negative karma. But as long as we're following the Dharma, the Vaishnava Dharma as given by Prabhupada and the Acharyas, then we're protected. But if we don't follow, then we're not protected. It's obvious. Either you follow and Krishna says, I'll protect you. But if you don't want to follow, Krishna thinks, oh, okay, you want to be on your own? Okay, no problem. You can protect yourself if you want. But if you change your mind and start following again, I'll protect you. So Krishna always gives us that choice. So we're here in Vrindavan. We're very fortunate because everywhere you go, everything's prasada. Everything's offered to Krishna. Everybody's a Vaishnava devotee of the Lord. It's wonderful. Of course, not everyone's Uttama Adhikari. Some of them are Kanishta, but they're still devotees of Krishna. There's no demons living here. There may be some monkeys that are mischievous, but Prabhupada said they were devotees who misbehaved in a previous life, so they have to take one more birth in Vrindavan as monkeys, and then they'll go back to the spiritual world. That's what Prabhupada told us. So even the monkeys, this is their last life. So if you want to know who's the sadhu, who's the advanced devotee, you look at, is it their last life? The advanced devotee, last life means they go back home, back to Godhead. That's the advanced devotee. They're living their last life now. But if you're living anywhere else, then you have no guarantee what is your last life unless you follow the process. Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Eva Kevalam, Kalo Naskeva, 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 Katira, Yata. That we follow the teachings, we follow the chanting of the holy names of the Lord. So this mantra was given to Narada Muni by Lord Brahma, because Narada Muni had come to Lord Brahma and he was out preaching. And he said, once we establish that Krishna is Bhagavan, what is the process to us reconnect with Krishna, to reestablish our loving relationship with Krishna? And Lord Brahma was very pleased. He said, this is a wonderful question, Narada Ji. Here's the answer. Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama. This is how we connect to our eternal relationship to Krishna, become purified, and go back home, back to Godhead in this very life. So in this mantra, there's 11 words. And in these 11 words, 8 of the words are emphasizing the chanting of the Maha Mantra. So I'll go through it. Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama. That's 3 times Hare Nama. Eva. Eva means certainly. Certainly means 100% guarantee. So that's also an emphasis. So that's 4. Kevalam. Kevalam means only. Only means everything is rejected and only this. So again, this is an emphasis. That's 5. Nascheva, Nascheva, Nascheva. No other way, no other way, no other way. So 8 times in this mantra is the holy name emphasized, Gatir Anyata, that there's no other way to attain the goal, Gati, the goal, the destination, Goloka Vrindavan. So it's so important that we take shelter of the holy name. Don't take shelter of medicine. Take shelter of the holy name. Take shelter of prasadam. You know, we can give this example. Maharaj Parikshit, he came to the home of Samika Rishi, and he was thirsty, but the Rishi was doing dhyan. He didn't respond. Maharaj Parikshit, dying of thirst, I need water. Rishi was in deep meditation, didn't respond. So Maharaj Parikshit got angry. And he saw a snake and he wrapped it around the neck of the Rishi. And that woke the Rishi. Now the son of the Rishi saw that and he cursed Maharaj Parikshit that he would die. So what did Maharaj Parikshit do? Did he try to seek some remedy? No. He just accepted it. Okay, I have now been given notice that I'm going to leave my body. I have 7 days. Let me use my final 7 days to hear Harikatha and focus my mind, my heart, my soul, my words, my intelligence on Supreme Lord Sri Krishna. And he went to near Naivisharanya. He heard Sukadev Goswami speak, and in 7 days, he went back home, back to Godhead. So similarly for us, at least here in Vrindavan, my mood is this. Everyone, of course, is an individual and everyone has their own understanding. But my understanding is, for my life, if anything happens to me, I'm going to follow in the footsteps of Maharaj Parikshit. Because nobody knows when they're going to die. But if you've been given notice, you only have 3 months to live. This is a blessing. Wow, 3 months. Now I can focus just on this and then go back home, back to Godhead. I don't have to be involved with anything else. And one devotee that I knew, he developed cancer, Radha Das. And the cancer got worse and worse and worse. Finally, the doctor said to him, there's nothing more we can do to help you. I give you 2 months to live maximum. So what did Radhesham do? He said, okay. He accepted that. He didn't try to seek some other remedy. And he went back to his home. He was in a wheelchair and in his room, he put pictures of Prabhupada everywhere, on the walls, even on the ceiling. So when he was lying on his bed, he could see Prabhupada and Sri Krishna. And he had Prabhupada's tape recording of the Hare Krishna mantra playing day and night, 24 hours. And he told his family members, if anybody comes to see me, they only let them into my room if they're willing to talk Harikatha. If they want to talk about anything else, don't let them in. And in this way, in 3 months, the end of the 3 months, he left his body. Now what happened? He became so weak, and everyone who was there could see he's going to leave his body very soon. So all of a sudden, just by inspiration, his wife went out and took a tulsi leaf. They had a tulsi growing. She took the tulsi leaf and she put it on his tongue. And he was chanting, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. And with the tulsi leaf on his tongue, the last word he said was Krishna. And then he expired. Went back home, back to Godhead. So he was following in the mood of Maharaj Parikshit. Also Jayananda, my godbrother Jayananda, did the same thing. He had leukemia. He tried to get it cured, but when he saw that it was not going to be possible, he just resigned himself. He went to the Los Angeles temple, stayed in his room, had Prabhupada's tape playing the whole time. Devotees would come in, do kirtan. He only took Mahaprasad. And on the day that he left his body, the pujari had just come from the temple after Arti and had brought the garland of Lord Jagannath and put it on Jayananda. And Jayananda was chanting Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, and the garland came on his head, and then he left his body. So to be given notice, this is the greatest benediction. Then you can forget everything else and just focus on our process. Go back home, back to Godhead. So here in Vrindavan, We don't see this pandemic as anything bad. It's just life. There's all kinds. If you look in Shastra, the demons are always trying to destroy the devas. So they're always going and destroying Hiranyakashipu, Ravana, everyone. And the devatas, they run to Sri Vishnu, oh, please protect us, please help us. Once they take shelter of Sri Vishnu, then he protects them. But then after they're protected, after some time, they go back to enjoying mood. And again, the demons come, and again, they run to Sri Vishnu. So this goes on, it's always there. So no matter what the situation is today in the world, we should know that if we take shelter of Sri Krishna, he will protect us. And we will be safe, actually safe. We should not try for some external remedy to save this material body. What do I want to save the material body for when I can have a spiritual body very soon, very quickly, if I'm given notice, a few months? Of course, if you're a young person, you just got married and you have children, that's different. But for us who are older, we have to realize that now is an opportunity to get more serious about Krishna consciousness. Now that there's difficulty in the world, and the preaching is going to be better than ever because we can explain to people there is no enjoyment in the material world. Padam padam yat vipadam natesham. There's danger at every step. People will understand it because they will have had family members who had passed on. And so this pandemic is actually a blessing in disguise if we see it from the spiritual perspective, because not a blade of grass moves without the sanction of Krishna. So he knows what's going on. He's fully aware of it, and he protects his devotees. But we have to come and ask him to protect us. If we don't ask him to protect us, he's thinking, oh, you want to protect yourself? Very good, I won't interfere. I fulfill your desire because Krishna fulfills all our desires. But if our desire is, Krishna, you please protect us, and he will do. And this is Shraddha. This is Vaishnava Shraddha. Okay, any questions from the audience?
Looks like no questions. Devakanandam Prabhu, you're there?
Yeah. Yes, I'm here.
Your Thakurji are very beautiful, very beautifully dressed. What are their names?
Is that Devakanandam Prabhu?
Prabhu is asking me. No, he's asking somebody else.
No, I'm asking, what is the name of your Thakurji? CC
Yeah,
Radha. They look like Radha. Sorry?
Radha Gopinath ji, Prabhuji.
CC Radha Gopinath ji ki jai. Very beautiful.
Yeah.
So it's so wonderful that in the middle of New Jersey, you can come and take darshan of Sri Sri Radha Gopinath. Who would have imagined that? You know, before Prabhupada came, no one could have imagined that. And now it's happening. Just see the Shakti of Prabhupada. Sometimes we're thinking, what can I do? I'm just one man. What can one man do? What can one man accomplish? But look at Srila Prabhupada. He was one man. Look what he accomplished. That's what one man can accomplish. When you're empowered by Krishna, you can spread the mission all over the world. So our goal is to become empowered by Krishna. Take shelter of Krishna. Take shelter of the process. Take shelter of Prasadam. Take shelter of Prabhupada's books. Take shelter of the Vaishnavas. Take shelter of the preaching. Take shelter of the holy name. Take shelter of the divine murtis. Take shelter of the qualities of Krishna and the leelas of Krishna. And absorb your mind in all these things. And in this way, you can be empowered by Krishna to do things beyond your imagination. Prabhupada said, impossible is a word in a fool's dictionary. But in a Vaishnava dictionary, nothing is impossible because we are empowered by Krishna. Everyone thought it would be impossible that one old man, Srila Prabhupada, when you think about it, not only was he elderly when he left India to come and preach in America and establish Sri Chaitanya's mission, but his health was not good. He was elderly and in poor health. He had 2 heart attacks on the boat. No one in good health has heart attacks. So even in such poor health at an elderly age, Prabhupada went out to fulfill the order of his guru and his Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he spread the holy name all over the world. So the word impossible doesn't exist for Vaishnavas because Krishna can empower us to do the impossible. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Maharaj.
One thing I will share when you mentioned, I remembered my spiritual master's writing a letter to Srila Prabhupada, and Prabhupada said this, regarding your question about the verse in the prayers to the spiritual master is one of the associates of Krishna. The prayers offered by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur to his spiritual master have a special significance. His spiritual master was one of the assistant gopis, so the prayer was offered like that. On the whole, the spiritual master is an agent of Krishna, but either he is assistant to the gopis or assistant to the cowherd boys. He is on the level of Krishna. That is the verdict of all scriptures. Krishna is worshipable God and the spiritual master is worshipper God. The exact words are Sevya, worshipable, and Sevak, worshipper. September 26, 1969.
So in this letter, Prabhupada says either doing seva for the gopis or seva for the gopas, the cowherd boys. He says that. So this is very wonderful because most people in other sampradayas, they think that it is just seva to the gopis. But it's also seva to the gopas, and the gopas are also serving the gopis and Krishna in their own different way. Because in the spiritual realm, everybody is serving everybody else. Everybody is a servant. Das, 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 anudas. And everyone is serving everyone else. And when Krishna Balaram temple was inaugurated, and then Prabhupada asked so many other Krishna Balaram temples to be opened, we could understand that his connection with Krishna and Balaram is very, very close. He loves Krishna Balaram. Because in Vrindavan, nobody opens Krishna Balaram temple. Every temple in Vrindavan is Radha Krishna. Why he was different? There's a reason. He's revealing his inner mood, something that not everybody can understand. Hare Krishna. Very nice letter, wonderful letter. Thank you. I appreciate very much that you read that letter.
Yesterday only someone reminded, one of the disciples reminded me of this letter, then it was wonderful. Prabhupada's explanation.
Oh, yeah. Yes. So we should keep this in mind, that we are connected to the parampara. Evam parampara praptam imam rajarshayo vidhu. This parampara is coming down to the rajas and the rishis, the acharyas, from Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, 6 Goswamis, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Srila Prabhupada. It's coming through this line, and we're connected to this line. This is amazing that we're connected to this. Our lives are so glorious, we can't even appreciate it and understand it. But therefore, we should be very careful not to misuse our good fortune. Because if we commit offenses, then the most fortunate will become the most unfortunate. We are now the most fortunate, but if there's an aparad, the most fortunate become the most unfortunate and they fall away. So let's be very careful. Let's keep Krishna and Balaram focused in our mind. my wife and I, we love Krishna Balaram. When we go to the temple here in Vrindavan, you know, our first darshan is Krishna Balaram. Then we go to Radha Shyam Sundar and then to Gaur Nitai. We love Krishna Balaram. In our home, we worship Radha Damodar because before we came to Vrindavan, we were worshiping Radha Damodar. But when we came to Vrindavan, then Krishna Balaram entered into our hearts. Before that, Krishna Balaram had kept themselves at a distance. But when we came to Vrindavan, they opened our hearts and we had some deeper realization about them. So my daily morning program, after rising, taking bath, and chanting Hare Krishna mantra, japa, then I prepare breakfast offering to Radha Damodar. I do the cooking. We do an Indian breakfast, you know, no cornflakes. We do rice, dal, sabji, you know, sometimes dosa. And then I offer to Radha Damodar. So I do everything. And before I do the offering, I say, my dear Radha Damodar, please accept this offering that I've cooked for you. I know it's not at the level of Mother Yashoda that you're used to, but please accept this offering so that my family members can get the benefit of your mercy. So how they can say no, I'm asking them to give their mercy to my family members. So this is my morning program every day. Hare Krishna. So we have, and I realized the connection with Krishna is very deep once we have the murtis and we do the puja in our home. And then I had another realization that I'm cooking for Radha Damodar, doing everything for them, and I realized I'm not so much in the mood of a das, of a servant, because Radha and Damodar, they're children, they're young. Damodar is 3 years old. And then I'm thinking, this is Vatsalya Bhav. I'm preparing their meal in the Vatsalya Ras more than in the Dasya Ras. It's very wonderful to have this loving feeling for Radha Damodar as my children. And my wife also refers to them as our kids. Shri Shri Radha Damodar ki jai.
Jai.
Shri Shri Radha Gopinath ki jai. Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari.
Hari Bo.
Any other points for discussion?
Thank you very much, Vyasaki Prabhuji. You've been such a source of inspiration for thousands and thousands of devotees all over the world. For so many years, we've been listening to your ecstatic kirtans. You've been traveling to all over the world. I have seen your kirtans in India, in here, in America, and so many Rath Yatras. And now I see you're sharing your Braja Bhakti. You're sending us the blessings from Krishna Balaram and your Radha Damodar's blessings. So we're really, really grateful to you. So such a blessing for all of us to be in your association and hear Lord Balaram's pastimes, and especially giving us faith in the holy names through your chanting, through your words, lectures. We're really indebted to you. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I'm amazed. I'll go somewhere to a temple that I've never been before in my whole life, and they all know me. How do they know me? Because they have my CDs or they heard my music online. So I realized that the CDs are also the Brihat Mridanga. They go where I don't go. So my CDs bring the holy name to places that I will never even go to, ever. So this is really some kripa, some Shakti, Mahaprabhu Shakti, that Jare Deka Tare Kaho Krishna Upadesh, Amar Agya Guru Hoyat. No, that's a different one. Which one is it? Brahmanda Brahmite Kona Bhagavanaji Guru Krishna Prasade Bhakti Lata Bij. So he's given us this Bhakti Lata Bij so that we can be part of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission and spread the holy names to every town and village. So my name, Vyasaki Das, people sometimes ask me, what is the meaning of your name? So Vyasaki is the name of Shukadev Goswami. So in the Bhagavatam, frequently there's Vyasaki Uvacha. And amongst the 12 Mahajans, Balir Vyasaki Vyam. Yamaraj is speaking. Bali Maharaj, Vyasaki, which is Sukadev Goswami, Vyam, and myself, Yamaraj, the Mahajans. So Prabhupada gave me that name. And also of the 9 processes, the Navavidi Bhakti, Sukadev Goswami attained perfection through kirtan. So Prabhupada gave me this name. Vyasaki means the son of Vyasadev. Shukadev Goswami, who is the son of Vyasadev. So I was thinking, I have to live up to the purport of this name somehow or other. And so Krishna blessed me. He empowered me to chant Hare Krishna. And I also know that at any moment he can take it away. Sometimes when I'm in the temple and they're asking me to lead a kirtan, before I begin the kirtan, I have to pray to the deities, please Krishna, allow me to chant. Don't take away your power. Don't let me appear like a fool in front of everybody, because I know it's only by your Shakti and you can take it away at any time. So please allow me to display your Shakti and chant nicely for the Vaishnavas. So I realize it's only by Krishna Shakti that I'm able to do this. Because before Krishna came into my life, I couldn't do this. So how can I say it's my Shakti? It's obviously Krishna Shakti. And that's the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, that he brought me into the arena where I could connect to Krishna and chant the Maha Mantra, which I love doing. And this is all I really want to do. And when people ask me to do kirtan, I'm so happy, and I chant just from the heart. And I feel that Krishna takes over the kirtan. In the beginning, I may start, but very quickly, all of a sudden, it's not me chanting. It's Paramatma has taken over and given me some Shakti that is not even mine. And I'm able to sing in such a way that is beyond my own capability. So that's why I have to remain very, very humble, so that Krishna will continue to utilize me as his servant and not take away his Shakti, so that I'll again become a frog. Because before I met Prabhupada, I was fool number 1, really. Hare Krishna. So that's the meaning of my name, Vyasaki Das, the servant of the son of Vyasadeva.
Amazing. We're eternally indebted to you for your services and inspiring us, keeping us going somehow through your kirtans and Vani. We're really eternally indebted.
Thank you very much. We're actually eternally indebted to each and every one of us. We're all internally indebted to each and every one of us, because we're a family. This is a spiritual family. We can't live alone without each other. We have each other. I may not have met you personally. I may not have sat down and taken prasad with you personally, but yet we are family, because we are devotees of Krishna, the Krishna family. And this bond of Vaishnava family is stronger than the bond of biological family even. And this bond transcends the material body. And when the body is finished, we'll again have our family reunion in Goloka Vrindavan in the spiritual world. Because in the spiritual world, everyone's related in a family relationship, an intimate, loving family relationship. And we will be able to enter into that family relationship when we go back. Even the sannyasis will enter into a family relationship when they go back to Godhead. Even our sannyasis in ISKCON are part of our family. this is a unique type of sannyas in ISKCON because they're part of the ISKCON family. Normally, sannyasis don't have any connection to family. They just wander and travel. But our sannyasis are part of our ISKCON family. So this is a whole new conception of sannyas that Prabhupada has introduced. Wonderful. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. Vancha kalpatarubhyasya kripa sindhu bhayavacha
Devacha patitanang pavanebhyo
Pavan-
maybe namo namaha.
की जय गोपाल की जय दिव्य वैयासकी प्रभु की जय
Jai.
श्री कृष्ण बलराम की जय
Jai.